Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa habibina wa syafi'ina wa nuri qulubina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa salim. Wa nata'allama wa ta'alim wa tadhakkura wa tazkira wa nafa'a wa lintifa' wa rifada wa istifadah wal hatha ala tamassuki bi kitabillahi wa sunnati rasulihi sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa salam wa du'a ila al-huda wa dalalah al khair ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني مشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف به كيف نناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده، فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم يا معلم إبراهيم علمنا، ويا مفهم سليمان فهمنا، ويا مؤتي داود الحكمة آتنا الحكمة وأصلحنا. اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم، وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله، يا فتاح يا عليم، يا فتاح يا عليم، يا فتاح يا عليم، افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا، وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرات الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين. آمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين 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 آمين. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. We're continuing with our class from last week. So we were at about Nifas. Let's share the screen. And we're about Nifas last week. Allahumma salli. So we actually finished Nifas. And we were speaking about the conditions of Nifas, right? Before how for a person before they can rule that the blood that has come out of them is under the ruling of Nifas. Right, so the first rule is that the womb must be empty of any human form, right? So any blood, which means any blood before birth, so that let's go with that word, Nifas, by the language it means life, from the word nafasa, right? Nafasa, our nafas, right? It means to breathe, right? Nafas, right? To breathe, right? So nifas, it means a breath of life, a breath of life. So the Sharia, it refers to the blood that exists in the body of a woman as a result of birth, right? So it's a blood that comes out as a result of life. Right? Life came out of the body, and whether it is whether or not the human being is alive, or whether it's not alive, right? The blood that comes out, once the womb is emptied of any human form, that blood is called nifas, right? So blood before birth but preceding miscarriage is all under istihadhah, which means that a person still has to pray. It is only when the fetus has exited the body, right, then it is called the blood that comes after is nifas, right? So and how do you rule the blood to be a miscarriage blood and not the blood of menses? It means it is only if two missed cycles, there is a minimum of two missed cycles, right? Then only can the fetus be identified as a fetus. If it's prior to two missed cycles, it is still possible for the fetus to be identified, but it has to be physically identified and not by um, um, scanning. Right? It's not by scanning, but it's physical. Right? So whatever has come out has to be identified by Ahlul Khibra. Ahlul Khibra are basically people of experience, right? People of experience, right? So if the clot that comes out can be identified by people of experience that this is a human, it is a human being, it's human form, right? Then the blood that comes out thereafter is a ruling of nifas. And the main difference is that nifas, you're given up to 60 days for the blood to clear. Whereas for haid, given the ruling of haid, so basically if the blood is ruled to be haid, then it is regardless of whether or not the clot has come out. You see the big difference, eh? It's a big difference, right? So if someone is 1 month pregnant, has missed one cycle, right? And maybe it's time for the second cycle, and she notices blood being thrown out, right? So she gives the ruling of this blood to be haid. It is menses. It is not nifas. I hope you see the big difference. So if someone is 2 months pregnant, right, or less than 2 months pregnant, right, when the moment they see blood coming out of them in abundance with all the signs of haid, the blood is coming out in abundance. Right, so probably she's having an early miscarriage. Right, probably it's an early miscarriage, but it is not possible to determine that she was indeed pregnant with human form. Right, because there's a possibility that she was actually not pregnant with human form, but it was rather an empty placenta, or an empty amniotic sac, or just the placenta, or there could have been there was no human form in the first case to begin with. If someone were to say, but what if there was actually human form? Now, what if it was actually a pregnancy and that she miscarried before the pregnancy reached 2 months? Then we say that because it is not possible to identify, it's not possible to ascertain, it's not possible to it is not possible by the Sharia, it is not possible to identify or to ascertain conclusively that she was indeed pregnant. Therefore, the asl meaning the original ruling. Al asl is that the original ruling is that she's not pregnant. So she's not pregnant until proven pregnant. You get it, eh? She's not pregnant until proven pregnant. And the only way to prove pregnancy is to identify physically that what she was carrying was human. Okay, it was a human form. That's the only way, right? They don't take hormonal indications to be proofs. They don't take scans to be proofs, right? Because all of these can be imitated, right? By, like I shared a few weeks ago, by a medical condition, right? Whereby I can't remember what it was called. There was a name for it, right? Whereby, and it happens more often and more commonly than we realize. It happens more often to women than we realize. Whereby the body begins to form a placenta, and it begins to form an amniotic sac, but there is no baby inside. There is no human. The human actually never formed inside. Right? So that could have happened, and that would blighted ovum. Okay, I forgot what it was called. Blighted ovum. Right, so that and this actually happens more often than we think. Right, so because the blighted ovum imitates pregnancy, it actually imitates. Like in our society, in the Malay society, they would say they would call it like this kind of like a phantom pregnancy, in a sense, whereby they'll say, they will say in Malay like it has been taken by the unseen world. Right? But for all you know, there was never a baby there in the first place. Allahu Alam, it's possible that the unseen world takes babies, right? It's possible, which is why for those who are pregnant, not to go out after Maghrib, right? Do not attract unwanted attention. I know of a person, personally, my own close friend, whereby her mother was 9 months pregnant with her and her twin. Her mother herself told me the story. Her mother was 9 months pregnant with her and her twin. Um, and 9 months, full. It was obvious that it was a pregnancy. She was full. Was a big, there's a big tummy, with two babies inside. It was. I mean, the doctors have been scanning her for and seen the two babies inside, and this is not to scare anyone, but it is basically the truth. It has happened to many people. Actually, in fact, even in my own family members, there are those who have gone through it. And her mother herself told me the story that she had a dream, right, of an old couple, a man and a woman, had come to her in her dream and had said to her in Malay lah, they had said to pinjam, right? So which means in Malay, which means I borrow for a while. So when she woke up from her dream, she didn't realize. She walked out of her bedroom. She went to the kitchen. Her mother-in-law was there. Her mother-in-law looked at her and said, "Where are your babies?" And then she looked down. She looked down onto her tummy, and it was flat. It was actually flat. There was no tummy at all. And she was 9 months pregnant. There was no tummy. It was gone. And then they all went to the hospital to scan. There was nothing in there. Nothing. Just the day before, there were two babies in there. And then they went to the hospital, there was nothing in there. And the mother told me herself, her mother told me that she cried and she prayed for a week. She asked Allah to, whoever took the babies, to give it back. Right? She cried and she prayed and she cried and she prayed for a week. Then after a week, the same old couple came back to her in her dreams. They are the people, the unknown lah. They are the jinn, people of the jinn. I mean, not people, but the makhluk of the jinn world. They can take, if Allah allows for it, they can take. So they came back and then they thanked her for allowing them to borrow her babies. Right? And then they returned it, but they only returned one. They kept the other one. So in these kind of stories, I mean, I hear from people who actually themselves went through it. My own auntie, I had one auntie also who told me her story also. She had twins also in her womb, a boy and a girl. Right? And same thing happened. She dreamt that they came. It was a woman that came to her and said to her, "I want your daughter. I want your daughter." And then, but she said that what happened was that she was out that night, and she walked past like several areas whereby she didn't read adequacy, didn't read protection, didn't read any of these things. And so basically, some of the makhluk, they are real, they are out there, they are out there, right? Saw her and could see into her womb and could and liked one of her babies, right? Liked one of the babies, so followed her back home. Right, and I will teach the kids, you come into your house, make sure you read Bismillah, make sure you read adequacy, make sure you read, or read all the protection. We come to your home, they cannot follow you in. Okay, you cannot follow you in, but this my aunt, she told me that she came in, she didn't think much about it because people kept telling her, but she didn't think much about it. Then she was by the window, and then she felt there was something, had come in through the window, and then Allahu Alam story, but she said she dreamt that the woman came to her and said to her, "I want your daughter." And then when she woke up, and she said in a dream, she fought the person, the woman that came to her, she fought the person to try and prevent the person from or the thing lah, whatever it was. I feel like I'm telling ghost stories, but it's more of, I'm not telling ghost stories, right? But I'm just warning that a lot of women don't take this seriously. And a lot of women don't take this seriously. It has happened to people. Subhanallah. But of course, blighted ovum is something else lah. Blighted ovum is before 2 months. Like the one I'm talking about that happens in our side, in our community, and it's worldwide. It happens everywhere. Even in Tarim also, they know about it. It's worldwide that the other makhluk can, they call it rampas. They can take it. They can take the baby if Allah allows lah. Right? If Allah allows, Allah is all powerful, right? So not to be complacent, about this. Our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has given us means of protection. In reading, in reading Abdul Latif, in reading Ayatul Kursi, right? In reading, so the one who is pregnant, especially, you should be reading Ayatul Kursi morning and evening. You should be doing this, right? Reading Ratib al-Haddad, and so on. So all protection, that Allah protects you. from this unseen world. Subhanallah, they can't see you, and they can't, take. So maybe, and just finish the story. I will continue with my class, right? So anyway, she herself told me the story. Mashallah, my she's not my aunt, she's my mom's cousin's wife, my mom's cousin's wife. Anla, so she told me herself that she fought the woman who came to her in her dreams. She fought and she kept screaming, "Don't take my baby, take my baby." But the woman was like, "You don't deserve her. You don't deserve her." And then she took the female of the twins, and she gave birth to my second cousin lah, who was a male. Right? So but she said that he has a twin sister, right? But I was taken. It was taken by the makhluk, whoever the makhluk is. So it's all not to scare people, but it's just to wake people up to the reality of the world that we live in. We don't just live in a human dimension, right? We are in a human dimension, but it's not just a human dimension exists. There are other dimensions, right? And then the world of the jinn is wajib on every Muslim to believe in. And Muslims must believe in the world of the jinn, because there is Surah Jinn in the Quran, and the Quran speaks repeatedly about the jinn world. And in fact, the entire story of Iblis is a jinn, right? So you can't possibly not believe. Like people say, "Oh, I don't believe in ghosts." What do you mean by you don't believe in ghosts? Right? Jinn is basically ghosts, right? I mean, ghost is jinn, jinn is ghost. They're all jinn lah. They're all jinn, right? But what you believe in protection. I mean, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more powerful, is all powerful than all of these things. So whenever I speak to the kids also about this, and it's reality. This is reality. You can't keep them away from it. Right? But what you can do is do what our Prophet has taught us, teach protection. You teach them to you teach them protection, and you teach them, to come back before Maghrib. Don't be out there during Maghrib time. Try your best, especially if you're pregnant. Try your best to be home by Maghrib. And if you really can't because you're working, you have things to do, or like, sometimes it's like, in the past before COVID, like Hari Raya, Eid, and you could tend to go out and you come back late at night, then do take the protection that has been taught to us by our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Similarly, on the same note, with regards to menses and nifas, when you are in these conditions, you are in a state of hadath, and you do have a smell of blood that's on you. Not to scare people, but to just tell people, please take the precaution, and please take the protection that our Prophet ﷺ has taught us. Please, and again, also as far as you can, to avoid going out after Maghrib. Like if you have to go out for work, or you're going out for a class, then inshallah there's a good reason why you're going out. And then so read your du'as, read your kursi, do your ratib, do your wirid, do whatever you have to do for protection, and then go out. Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allah. But if you're just going to go out for unimportant things, whatever it is, like people are going out in the past, and now alhamdulillah with COVID, there are a lot of things there are a lot of good things that have been stopped, and a lot of bad things that have been stopped, and one of it is the bazaar at Geylang. It has been stopped, right? So alhamdulillah. But if people are going out and going to these kind of places, or they're going to the beach, or they're going to chalets, or they're going to, these are water bodies are places where it's known, right? Water bodies are places where jinn will lurk, right? So avoid them lah. Avoid them. Water bodies, staircases, right? Stairwells, right? This is where jinn will lurk. Right? So try your best to avoid these places. Mashallah. I had a question once on this anonymous platform where they ask questions, and someone who asked the question, she told me that she was a poly student, and her class is right 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. her class. And she was saying to me that, the nearest so-called musalla, if you have been to university and to poly, we have our makeshift musallas at the stairwells, right? And we're very familiar with this makeshift musallas. You know where they are, right? In your faculty, you'll know where the makeshift musallas are, right? in which stairwells. So she was saying to me that, the musalla is in this stairwell at the end of the building where nobody goes. right? It's so secluded. It's so scary to go there for Maghrib. She was saying to me, lah. So she said to me, can she just, jama Maghrib to Isha? Like, can she just do that? And because her class is from 6 to 8, during the break, she'll need to rush, because the moment she has to rush all the way to that corner and pray her Maghrib and then rush back to the lecture. If she can even excuse herself from the lecture and pray Maghrib, she's not sure if she can actually get it at 8 o'clock. Or I think my class was 6 to 8:30 or something like that. Basically, she had to do Maghrib during the class. She asked me lah, what should she do? And the more she's freaked out by the place. It's so scary. It's at one corner of the building. She said. So what's the answer? How do you answer such a question? So can you jamat ta'khir? Can you jamat ta'khir? Maghrib. Someone says can. Are you sure you can jamat ta'khir Maghrib into Isha? Just because you're scared of the jinn? Can you do so? Let me see if you all know the answer. You all know the answer. Don't go musola, don't go lecture. Someone just said don't go lecture. Okay, yeah. Okay, the answer is you cannot jama. That's the first thing. You cannot jama. You have to pray. Die. You have to pray somewhere. All right. If you're so terrified to go to the stairwell at the corner of the building, then pray anywhere. Lah, it's only three rakats. Find a place. Right. Find a place. Not salat khawf. Salat khawf is not counted. Salat khawf is for jihad fisabilillah. Salat khawf is only when you're fighting in the battlefield. You can't do salat khawf at this point. Like, hantu, and then you run away. No, you can't do that. Subhanallah, you can't do that. Salat khawf is not here. But basically, what I told her to do is that during the lecture, we all know we've gone through university, we've gone through poly or whatsoever. You've gone through school lah. Basically, you can always excuse yourself to go to the bathroom. If you can always excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, you can definitely go and pray. You can definitely go and pray. Right. So I told her, you know what? I asked her, are there like study areas around your lecture theatre? And she said, yeah, there are, of course, every university, every poly will have study corners, right, around the lecture theatre, benches, right, benches where people will study there. And then I said to her, just go and pray there lah. Right? It's a lecture theatre, so I don't think you can actually pray at the back of the class unless you want to be called upon by the lecturer. So the best thing to do is get out of the lecture theatre, go to a study area that's nearby, and just pray there. I just pray there through the guards and then come back. Right? Should be no issue. Right? Should be no issue. But the thing about it is that we need to teach our children to have confidence about their religion. They are not doing anything wrong. Right? They are not doing anything wrong. I was teaching a group of primary ones recently. I'm handling a group of primary ones, and I asked them, when they come to my house, right, they'll take turns to go and do wudu to pray Zohor. And it's a long time because it's quite a big group of them. So I said to them, can you do your wudu in school instead? Right? Because there's a lot more steps in school. You can do your wudu in school instead. And then you can guys come here if you're able to do wudu in school. Then one of them said, no, cannot do wudu in school. They will scold. Right? They will scold you if you do wudu in school. And I say, what would they scold you about? They say, because you make a mess. Then don't make a mess. Right? Go and wipe up all the water lah. If you take wudu in school, I told them, I went through school and you can definitely do wudu in school. You can do wudu in school. And if you say you can't do your feet because it's too high, the primary one, if you can't do your feet because the sink is too high, but actually, as far as I know, every school will have a squatting cubicle. Every school, if I'm not wrong. We've gone through many schools. There's always a squatting cubicle somewhere, correct? Because they need it to wash the toilet. They need that cubicle there with the tap to actually wash the toilet. Right, so there's always a squatting cubicle in every institution. Right, so I said to her, you can just do your wudu in school. If you can't do the feet, there's always a squatting cubicle. If you don't want to do it there, then you do your feet here at the house. You come here and do your feet. You can always, and then I think the fiqh of it lah. The fiqh is that you can do wudu halfway and continue it later on, as long as you don't nullify it in between. And if you had nullified it in between, if you had done it earlier on fully, you have nullified it anyway, right? So as long as you don't nullify it in between, You can do wudu until your head or your ears, and then your feet, do it later on. But I still remember, like when I said to them, like one of them was like, no, cannot. They will scold you. They will scold you. I said, you cannot be afraid. If you want to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you cannot be afraid. Don't be afraid, people will scold you. Just give them a smile and say, this is my religion. This is what I believe in. So even if you pray 3 rakats at the side, and sometimes some teachers, they do find fault with you and they will scold you about it. But you know what? 3 rakats is 5 minutes or at most 10 minutes. What do they have to scold you about? Right? What do they have to scold you about? So they can't. They actually can't scold you, about this. So I said, if they scold you by praying 3 rakats, the corner of a study area, right? You just give them a nice smile and do it again the next week. Just do it again the next week. Subhanallah. Your religion is more important, right, than anything else. MashaAllah. Okay, so yeah, the answer is you cannot jama'. You cannot jama'. There's no jama', right? You have to pray. If you cannot qada also, someone say qada. Qada also not allowed. Qada is haram. Qada is haram. Like, no, I'm not saying qada is haram. Missing the prayer is haram. Missing the prayer is haram. Qada is wajib if you miss the prayer, of course. Like qada is wajib if you missed the prayer. But missing the prayer in the first place is haram. Now you cannot miss the prayer. I just told her to just pray. I used to be in hockey and I used to pray at any pitch whatsoever. Don't care. Just go and take a wudu, wear telekong and pray. Who cares? Just be thick skin, about it. But it's something you have to teach our children. Okay, be thick-skinned about it. I don't care what people think. There's one question here. If a woman is 2 weeks pregnant based on a test kit, right? So test kit again is not yaqeen. Test kit is not yaqeen. It's not certainty. Scan cannot show a true fetus, but just a dot, presumably water bag. And she said to terminate the possible pregnancy due to other reasons. The shedding of the blood is considered as haid and not nifas. Okay, first and foremost, if she terminates the pregnancy, it is haram. It is haram on her to terminate pregnancy. Right? It is no matter what your reason, unless your life is at stake. The only reason that allows for termination of pregnancy is that your life is at stake. Your life is at stake. Because your life is to be preserved over the baby's life. Some women don't know this. If it's between your life and the baby's life, your life is to be preserved and not the baby's. So you can't say, oh, give me up and let my baby survive. No. In Islam, it is you who should be, the effort should be put on you to keep you alive, right? And the baby will be the one who passes. If it's a choice between one or two, if not both can survive, then there has to be one of them can survive. Then it has to be the choice. It's not even a choice. It has to be the woman. She's the one who is to be kept alive, and not the baby. Right? And if you ask why, because first and foremost, there are many reasons for this, but first and foremost, because she is already a life that is living. She's already a life that is living. There has many things going on around her. If she has her own children, all the more they depend on her, right? Whereas a child is not a confirmed life. The child is not a confirmed life. He has not come out yet. See the difference there? So first and foremost, for the question that is stated here, terminating a pregnancy is not permissible unless it's a matter of life and death for the mother. Okay, that's the first thing, regardless of your reasons. I say, what if I can't afford it? What if I can't, whatever the reasons, you cannot terminate the pregnancy. There is a difference there is a possibility if the pregnancy was due to rape. That one's a different situation. But if I'm speaking about a woman who's pregnant from her husband, that one is clear. It is not permissible for a person to terminate the pregnancy. For rape, there is an entire discussion in the fiqh, about a woman terminating the pregnancy because of trauma, trauma from the aggression that was against her, and there the scholars allow for termination of the pregnancy if she cannot handle it, because it will remind her of her trauma. So first and foremost, that one is answer your question. Secondly, if she does terminate the pregnancy, it will fall under the ruling of miscarriage before 2 months. So because she's only 2 weeks pregnant, right? So it is under the ruling of miscarriage before 2 months. Therefore, it is menses. Okay, it is haid. It is not nifas. Because 2 weeks is not possible to identify human form. Let me see. Okay. Okay, someone asked the question, is it allowed to jama' if traveling and can't make it back in time? Traveling meaning in Singapore. It means within the Singapore island, the island of Singapore, and you're from work to home and you don't think you can get the prayer in time. So for example, if you left your workplace at 6 o'clock and because of the jam or whatsoever, you only reach home at 8:30 and you're not going to get Maghrib in between, then you need to plan your travel whereby you will stop somewhere and you'll perform your Maghrib. Right? You need to stop somewhere and perform your Maghrib. Jama' is not permissible at this point. It's not, you're not a musafir, you're not a traveler. A traveler has to leave the what do you call it, the city boundary. Okay, a musafir must have left the city boundary and going on a safar. A traveler must have left the city boundary and have gone on a travel. The entire island of Singapore is a city. There's no city boundary for us, right? Unless you left, the entire area. Some scholars say the area between the east of Singapore and the airport. There is you have left the built-up environment of Singapore, right? And then you move into the airport, which is why even when you go to Johor Bahru, right, Johor Bahru in Malaysia, you are still not a traveler because you never left city boundary. You're still in a city boundary. Only when you leave the town of Johor Bahru and you go into the plantations, and then now you have left the boundary of the city and you have begun your travel. Okay, if you're going to like Malacca or you're going to somewhere else in Malaysia, all right. So it's very careful because I know people who actually do jamak when they go to Johor Bahru. Right? You think about it. What's the difference between Woodlands and Johor Bahru? Right? What is the difference for those of you who are not Singaporean here? I apologize. Right? But for the Singaporeans who are here, think about it. What's the difference between Woodlands and Johor Bahru? Right? It's a town. There's a bridge to another town. Right? That's all. It's a town. It's 2 towns separated by a bridge. That's all. Right? There is no break in the town in the town wall in a sense. So artificial country lines are not taken into consideration. Man-imposed country lines are man-imposed country lines. They're not taken into consideration, but what is the built-up area is taken into consideration. So for example, if you go from, now I'm going to the fiqh of travel, because somebody asked a question. So if you go from Tuas, if you're on the end of Tuas, you're going into, I don't know what is in Malaysia that is after Tuas, right? But I know it's a lot of plantation, right? If you go through Tuas, you go right into plantation. There is no town there. You go right into plantation. You have begun your travel already. From the Tuas end, you have begun your travel. Right, the moment you go into the plantation. Right, so of course, if you're within Singapore, you have never left the town of Singapore. Right, so you can't do jamak. Right, jamak is only for a traveler. You're not a traveler. You have to stop somewhere and perform your Maghrib or stay where you are until it's Maghrib, perform Maghrib, and then go home. All right. Like I know in Singapore, I myself, I have performed Maghrib by the side of the road. I just stop the car if you're in the car lah, or you get off the bus, or I know I've done it before. It's just it's almost going to be Isha. You can't get home on time. You get off, and you find a place to pray. You pray. That's it. You pray. There's no jamak. Okay. One of the blessings of one of the gifts to the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that Rasulullah said that there are, I can't remember the hadith right now, right? But he mentions the number of gifts or specialities to his ummah, and one of it is that the earth has been made a masjid for them, and for the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the earth is our masjid. We can pray anywhere. For previous nations, they could only pray in their places of worship. They can't just pray anywhere. Can you imagine if you had to do that? Right? But it's so difficult, subhanallah. Right? But we'll still be doing it lah. We have to force ourselves to do it. Right? But Allah has mercy on the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah has allowed for the entire earth to be your masjid. So you have no excuse why you're not praying. The question here, so people say they pray within the rows of books in library. And you can do that as well. You can just go to the library and pray within the rows of books, and no one's going to bother you there. I used to pray in the library at the KJS when I was in school. No one will bother you. Just go to the back and just pray there. Someone says, is it better to pray somewhere secluded where males cannot see us, or it doesn't matter? Of course, it is better. If you can be in a secluded area where you're not, especially if you're going to pray somewhere in the open, right? To not pray, first and foremost, to not be inconsiderate and pray in the path of people. Right? That is not permissible. Right? You can't pray and block people. I mean, have common sense. Have common sense. Go to the corner. And then for women, to try and be out of sight of men. Try your best to be outside, but not to the point whereby you will miss your prayers. Because I once went to the beach a long time ago, about 20 years ago or something. I went to the beach with some of my friends, and their mother followed us, and it was time, Zohar was going out, it's going to be Asr already. So I said, let's pray. And the mother was like, no, I'll pray at home. And then I said, but we have to pray. So hard to speak up against speak up to an elderly person. So you have to pray. It's already almost end of Zohar, almost Asr, we have to pray. And then the mother was like, no, there are men here. You can't pray and men see you. So she missed her Zohar because of this. She missed her Zohar. That's not permissible. Right? So of course, while the best situation is that you pray away from the sight of men, but if you're in a situation whereby there is no choice but to pray there, then pray there. I don't just pray every day. And subhanAllah, that I know I once picked up my teacher from the airport, and she was held by the authorities, on the inside of the airport. And I was waiting for her to come out. She didn't come out, right? So and she was supposed to come out by 6 o'clock, but she didn't come out by 6 o'clock, right? So Maghrib came in, she was still not out, and it was in Singapore airport. And I'm not a traveler. I'm a Singaporean, not a traveler, right? So I can't possibly jama' my Maghrib into Isha. And at that point, I can't leave the position where I'm at because I'm afraid she might come out and I'm not there. To welcome her, so I need to be there, right? So I just went to the corner, right, in that space. And I was wearing niqab at that time also, so I can't even like to pray and everything. You need to know how to do it, right? So I just went to the corner behind a pillar, and I prayed my Maghrib, just lifted my niqab, whereby the eye hole goes over my forehead. So I pray I can't see. But because the wajib is the forehead, right? So the eye gap of my niqab, I pushed it up to that my forehead is exposed. But my face is covered from eyebrow down. So you can't even see my eyes. And I can't see what I'm doing. I can see what's in front of me. I prayed Maghrib there and then. You look weird lah. You look weird with no eyes. Your forehead is only exposed. Whatever. You have to pray. You have to pray. Right, so to pray 3 rakats, it's only 3 rakats. Just get it in your head. It's only 3 rakats. It's not going to be much, right, to give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a few more questions here. Then I want to continue on the Nifas thing. We've been here for a long time, mashallah. A question, do you feel the bottle like to do istinja? Likewise, feel the bottle to wash your feet over the toilet. If you cannot find a disabled toilet as you separate from everyone else, and you can do it in for your wudu. Yes, you can do that also. You can go for a disabled toilet. The thing about it is about the children, 7-year-old children. They can't bring their feet up, right? Yeah, they can't bring their feet up. Allahu alam. But you just teach them. Just teach them, bring a bottle, bring a cup, do things, right? Do things, right? To do things to ensure that you're able to do things that ensure that you can do your wudu, and you can do your prayer. Okay, important question here. What about a surgeon who is doing operation for long hours and can't leave due to darurat? Actually, I'm wondering, like for example, if someone's a surgeon, if they really to go to the bathroom, can they go to the bathroom? No matter how long the operation is. Like, I'm honestly asking, right? I mean, because no matter what if you have to go to the bathroom? I mean, as a human being, Like, what if you have to go to the bathroom? Do you like tahan? Do you like, hold it in and like you have to do the surgery, you can't leave position, and you're holding this, you know, um like I'm wondering about it, right? Because for as long as you're able to go to the bathroom, you can definitely go and pray, right? As long as you're able to go to the bathroom, you can definitely go and pray. And if let's say if you're doing surgery and you don't not feeling well, definitely you're able to leave the place for a while, right? And come back, right? I mean, there are many people in the area. At the same time, also, if your job makes it very difficult for you to pray, right? And prayer is the most important thing in your life, right? Prayer is the most important thing in your life. Then every night during tahajjud, ask Allah to not to ask Allah to always give you a way to pray. Your 5 times a day prayer. Ask Allah that sincerely. Ask Allah, and He will give you windows in which you can pray. This is, I have no doubt about this. Yes, so many times it's happened. This has happened over and over again. You just ask sincerely. If you sincerely want to pray, you will not miss it. You will not miss a prayer. If you sincerely want to pray, you will not miss a prayer. But you gotta ask Allah. You gotta be sincere about it. Um, but if let's say someone would say that their job regularly makes them miss their prayers, then you might want to rethink your job, right? Because your job is not as important as your prayer. Your job is not as important as your prayer. Your prayer is more important than your job, regardless of what your job is, right? And your job, you know what? Allah is the one who cures. Allah is the one who does. Allah is the one who gives. Allah is the one. Nobody in this world is indispensable. Nobody. If you die tomorrow, someone is going to take over your position. You know, subhanallah. Someone is taking over your position. That's all. There's always going to be, you're going to be a memory in people's, in the job. You're going to be a memory, but you will be taken over. No one is indispensable, right? You don't have to be there. You know, subhanallah. So the question about even if the minimum distance is 90 kilometers has been met. 90 kilometers is only when you leave the the city boundary, right? Only when you leave the city boundary. Where is the city boundary? I can open for you all a Singapore map right now, and I can show you, right? Where is the, so now everybody asking about travel. Okay, I'm gonna go into this just a little bit, just to show you all. Okay, let's take a Google map. Google map. So Google map. Allah. Okay. Let's see what am I doing here. Okay, where am I searching? Singapore. Google map. All right. Okay, let me show you where it's. See, keep in mind that man imposed or man drawn boundaries is not taken into account in the Sharia because the Sharia was before Singapore was drawn out, right? So how could men drawn boundaries be taken into consideration? There was no men drawn boundaries in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, let me see. All right, this is where we are. Can you all see in Singapore? Okay, I want to show the. Not this kind of map, the other kind. Oh yeah, this kind. Okay, let's see. Those of you in Malaysia. Those of you in Singapore. Okay, you see? These are all built up areas. Okay, Singapore is one big built up area. Okay, so that's why in like for example, if you're in America, in UK, you gotta see where does your town end, right? And then you go into the wilderness or you go into the outskirts. So once this is what the books of fiqh will speak about. Once you go into plantation, once you go into the farmlands, once you go into wilderness, once you go into the outskirts or even the suburbs, right? You have left the town boundary. Then your travel has begun. All right. And it's not that you have to cover 90 kilometers, it's that you have to intend to cover 90 kilometers of travel from the town boundary. Right. So you see, let me see, where is Woodlands? Okay, Woodlands is here, right? Okay, all these parts are built up. You see that? You see, if there was no country boundary, what's to say that they're not the same town? And what's to say? It's built up all the way. Right? The bridge doesn't make it that you've gone into the outskirts. This is not called outskirts. It's not called wilderness also. It's just called a strait. That's all it is. Right? It's a strait. That's all it is. But it's one big town. You look at it. Woodlands, Johor Bahru, right? It's one big town. It's a big town. Let's compare this to Tuas. Okay, go to Tuas. Mana Tuas? Okay, Tuas. Look at this. Okay, here is all built up. You go there, pop. You're right into that plantation. You go right into plantation. Right? There's no town. There's no built up town here. See, there's for as far as you go, there's no town that's built up. So once you leave this part, you have left the town boundary. And now you have begun your journey. Right? If you're going up to Kuala Lumpur or something, you have begun your journey. You can begin to jamak from the moment you left. You can begin to jamak from the moment you left. If you're going for a far distance, you can begin to qasar as well. Qasar meaning to shorten. Whereas here, the whole thing is built up. See that? The whole thing is built up all the way until where? Until maybe Skudai, I think. I don't know. It seems to be built up for a long time. Like it's quite large. See that? The whole thing is built up. Right? Okay. Let's go down here to our airport. This is what for most countries they have. The airport is away from the built up area for most countries. Right? So actually I asked this question to my teacher about can we begin our jamak at the airport if we are traveling a far distance? You have to be a traveler. Now I'm going to the entire fiqh of travel. Supposed to be on Nifas today. In the entire fiqh of travel, alhamdulillah. And we've not been traveling for the past 2 years. Alhamdulillah. Now, okay, let's see. Just Changi Airport. Okay. Okay, so when I asked my teacher about the Changi Airport, I guess there's a difference of opinion lah, right? But they said that okay, the built-up area of Singapore actually ends here. The airport is not counted as a built-up area because no one lives there. People don't actually live there, right? It's just a super giant big airport. That's what we have, So big our airport, super giant big airport, right? So no, it's like you have that Pasir Ris is right here, Loyang is right here, and then they come to the airport area. So is that near? Is it? Yeah, now we know is that near, right? Okay. So the scholars. So when I ask this question about can we jamak at the airport if I am going to fly, I'm not going to the airport to have dinner. Okay, I'm not going to the airport to pick up someone. No, am I going to the airport to have dinner? Because then I'm not a traveler. I'm not a traveler. But if I'm going to the airport to fly to KL, for example, to Kuala Lumpur, or to fly to anywhere, of distance. So I asked the question to my teacher: Is it counted that I have left the country boundary, right? When I left and I come to the airport, then he said, yes, the country boundary is right here. The airport is not it's not counted as a built up area where people live, but it's an airport as compared to Johor. Yes, Johor. Okay, as compared to Johor. Okay, lost Johor. Okay, as compared to Johor, right, whereby the city is continuous. The city is continuous. There is no break in the city. Like until somewhere around here lah. So technically, if many Singaporeans live at City Tropica, they live at, I don't know where the Singaporeans live. They live at all these places, right? Can't be that whenever they go to their house in Malaysia, that they're going to jamak the entire time. Right. I mean, they're going to their house in Malaysia. The whole thing is built up. The whole thing is built up. See that? Okay, so I hope that one's clear. Alhamdulillah. Someone asked a question about travel. So now we went to the entire thing about travel. Let's see. Let's go back. So I hope you're clear about what I'm saying. So the 90 kilometers is not that you have to meet it. You have to intend it, but you can only begin being a traveler, once you have left country, once you have left built up boundary. It's not country boundary, but built up boundary. Okay. So it yeah, so which is why when I asked the question, he said yes, you can jamak at the airport if you're intending to fly off. You can do a jamak at the airport. Right? So if I fly to KL, to Malaysia, right, I will jamak my Zuhur and my Asar at the airport, and then I will go to Malaysia. I will fly from the airport to Malaysia. Someone asked, isn't darurat a condition where we're allowed to jamak? No, no. Darurat is not a condition whereby you're allowed to jamak. No. Jamak is only allowed for travelers, right? And the other jamak that is allowed is because of heavy rainfall, but that's under a lot of conditions, which I have not gone through, right? So not all heavy rainfall you can jamak, right? But there are conditions of heavy rainfall whereby you're allowed to jamak, and only jamak taqdim, and only in a masjid, and only in jama'ah, and only if your house is far away from the masjid. There's a lot of conditions around that, right? But the only jama'ah that you're allowed to do is by travel. By travel. The other opinion that the scholars have is for a sick person. It is difficult for them to take wudu and pray for every waqtu, but that's not the Shafi'i mazhab. Another mazhab allows for sick people to jamak, again under serious sickness and illness. Otherwise, the scholars will say pray Zuhur at the end of the timing, but still in Zuhur time, and then pray Asar right after, once Asar comes in. So you don't jamak, but you pray one prayer to the end of its time, and you pray the other prayer at the beginning of its time because you're sick, you're not well. So taking wudu and everything will be difficult on you, but you do it that way. And then there's no sin on you, but you still don't combine your prayer. You cannot jamak unless you're a traveler. Only travelers are allowed to jamak. Okay. Okay, one question here. Let me go back to my document. Where's my document? Okay. If you see blood around the time of your menses and later find out that it was implantation bleeding, is it accurate to say that I need to qada my missed prayers, but was not sinful for missing my prayers because I assumed it was menses? Yes, that is correct. Right? Yes, that is correct. So you see blood, and on you see the blood stopped. It did not finish 24 hours, of bleeding, and then you found out that it was actually implantation. Then the prayers that you missed, just qada because it was a mistake. Right? Do I believe niqab is wajib? It's not about my belief, but it's about fiqh ruling. My belief plays no difference in the rulings of fiqh, in the rulings of jurisprudence, right? So with the laws of niqab, in the Shafi'i mazhab, what is majority opinion is that it is wajib, and there is a minority opinion that it is sunnah, right? That is in the Shafi'i mazhab. In other mazhabs, it is sunnah. Okay, my opinion plays no difference to what it is. It's just fiqh ruling, that's all. Someone said if you're a surgeon, you can go toilet, you can go and smoke. Why are you smoking if you're a surgeon? But seriously, if you can go to the bathroom, you can go and pray. Right. Question, is there any particular reason why jinn are attracted to staircases? I think it's a seclusion. They actually like to stay away from human beings. They don't actually like to be where human beings are, right? So they go to where no one's there. And that's exactly where we pray. MashaAllah. They're like, Allah, we all try to hang out at the staircase, you all come and pray. MashaAllah. Someone said, doctor is fardu kifaya. No, it's not fardu kifaya. It's not. Right. I mean, because it is debatable. It is debatable whether or not Western medicine itself it cures, right? It's debatable. Correct. If it's fardu kifaya, then in the time of Rasulullah there was a doctor. So then how? Fardu kifaya is only for Sharia rulings. Fardu kifaya is only for Sharia rulings, like to know the laws of wealth of inheritance. Right? Fardu kifaya. Somebody has to know about it. Right? To know the intricate details of tajweed. Fardu kifaya. To know about the laws, the very intricate laws of finances. Fardu kifaya. Right? Fardu kifaya has to do with Sharia. Right? Doctor is not fardu kifaya. Someone asked this question. Assalamualaikum Ustazah. I went the niqab too and they've deemed to be as ta'asub. People don't know the meaning of ta'asub. Most people don't know the meaning of ta'asub. That I'm overdoing this in our religion. How am I supposed to react to that? Am I really going to ta'asub? As I said, the niqab there is a ruling in our religion, in the Shafi'i mazhab, right, that says it's wajib on the majority opinion. And there's a minority opinion that most of us Southeast Asians, we are majority Shafi'i, right? And we actually act on the minority opinion, majority of us, which is that we take it as sunnah. Doesn't matter what people think, lah. And the ruling is the ruling. The fiqh is clear. The fiqh is clear. The ruling is a ruling, right? So just ignore what people say. Because the fiqh is clear. Like someone to say to me, don't fast Mondays. You're being too extreme when fasting on Mondays. I'm like, it's sunnah. Regardless of what you think, whether it's, regardless of what people think. Sunnah, wajib is wajib. Right. Okay. So people are clear. Yeah, I know some people say the business starts from the moment you enter Johor. These are people who consider country lines to be the boundary. Country lines is not the boundary. Because if country line was a boundary, how big is the USA? I mean, if you're going to go from town to town in USA, you can jama. Because you're going from town to town. I mean, subhanallah. Even when if you travel along the peninsula, the Arabian Peninsula, if you're going from town to town, you can in Tarim, if you go from Tarim to Seoul or in different towns in Yemen, you're not leaving the country. You're going from town to town. Right? So Singapore is one big town, if you think about it. Plus Johor is a big town. Not Johor, but Johor Bahru. Okay, not the whole of Johor. Johor is big. But Johor Bahru itself. Okay, so that's why it's a matter of where the built up area stops and where the countryside or the plantations or the outskirts begin. That's when you begin travel. Okay, just be very clear about that. Generated, maybe not, but bruises that suddenly appear on the body or leg and arms happens quite a lot. Is it caused by jinn? I don't know. I really don't know. Allahu alam. This is Allahu alam. Whatever is caused lah. Whatever is causing it, Allahu alam. But read your du'as. Don't be scared to pray at the staircase. Read your du'as, read your Ayatul Kursi and so on. Ta'assub, right? What is ta'assub? Right? Ta'assub is basically this is a word that has been thrown around a lot, and people don't know what it means. Right? Ta'assub, right? It means to hold on to a particular teaching. It's taken on a negative connotation, but it's not negative, but it's taken on a negative connotation. Ta'assub, it means to hold on to a particular teaching, like you say in a drastic manner, right? Or in a phonetic manner. Yes, this is the word phonetic. Right? In a phonetic manner. Right. So like for example, you follow a teacher, for example, and whatever the teacher says, you say is completely true, and anybody who goes against it, regardless of their proofs, or regardless of the of the discussion around it, they're all wrong. Only my teacher is correct. That is called ta'assub. That is what ta'assub is about, right? So while we do have teachers that we follow, yes, we do, right? But when someone brings an alternative argument or an alternative view, and it is sound and it's grounded in the Sharia, right? For us to say, yes, it's possible, this view. Okay, I'll give a very good example, okay? Like for me, personally, if I were to ever ask my teachers about the niqab, right? Because in Tarim, the ruling that we learn and we hold on to is the majority ruling of Shafi'i mazhab. They will say wajib, without any holding back. It's wajib, and all those who are showing their faces, you're all sinning. They will say that, right? But I've learned the extended opinion, right? There is a minority opinion in the Shafi'i mazhab that says sunnah, right? There are in the other mazhabs it says sunnah, right? So while I hold on to my teacher's teachings, and I respect their teachings, I also understand that I am living in Singapore, right? So in Singapore, you should know that there are other opinions. I don't go around saying to my mother, who does not wear the niqab, or to my cousin, whom I honor, right, and I look up to a lot. I don't say to them, and they don't wear niqab. I don't say to them, "Hey, you all haram, eh?" I don't say that to them. I don't say that to them. I don't say to my grandmother. I don't say this to them. I mean, because there is the opinion that has to be understood. There is the opinion that has to be understood, right? About and I don't go around saying to like asatiza or sheikhat out there, who are not covering their faces. You all sinful. You're all sinful. Of course, I don't do that. Of course not, right? Because there is the other opinion, right? But if let's say, for example, people were to speak about things that have no basis whatsoever, and they say, "Oh, the difference of opinion in this matter, difference of opinion in the matter." For example, if somebody were to say, so not about niqab, but about kicking up the face, and someone were to wear a load of makeup, and really kick up their faces to make it so to beauty in a way of beautification, clearly in a way of beautification. Right? And they kick up their faces, with thick, whatever they put on and then they put fake eyelashes, and then they I don't know what people do to their faces, right? But if they were to be doing that, right, and then they say, "Oh, there are differences of opinion," where are the differences of opinion? Where are the differences of opinion? Right? So if they can prove from correct Sharia foundation the difference of opinion, then marhaban, ahlan wa sahlan. But there is no difference of opinion. We have checked all the books because we did do a research about it. Do research about this, about makeup. Researched all the fiqh books to look for difference of opinion. The only thing that was difference of opinion was the eyeliner, means that the celah at the bottom eyelid. That one had difference of opinion by the Egyptians. But other than that, there's no difference of opinion. Mashallah. But then again, with regards to the society, right? If your job requires it, right, then just do the minimum. I would say the minimum that you need to do if your job requires it. But if it's not a requirement anywhere else, then even my mother, mashallah, when I spoke to her about it, and she grew up, and they grew our our mothers and our grandmothers, they grew up putting on lipstick all the time. I'm not sure if you all had that in your families, but my family, we had that. Right? That my mother, my aunties, my grand aunties, even my own grandmother, they will always put on lipstick. It's the way they grew up. It's a lot of influence from the British when they came to colonize Singapore, right? So so when I said to my mother, because my mother was put on lipstick to go to a wedding, right? And I said to her, and she cannot, And I said to her, she cannot. And then she was like, "Can lah, a bit only." And I said, "I don't know lah, but we've not found proof for it to be can." Right? And I just said, "What's the niyat? What's the intention in putting it on?" And then she was like, "Just to look presentable, to look presentable." And I said, if you greet them with a smile, and you're dressed, in a proper manner, right? You're not, in our culture, this slicky. You're not disheveled, right? But you're proper in your hijab. You're proper in your clothing. You're formal, right? In the way you dress. Would that be enough to honor the people at the majlis? If you're going to a wedding, would that be enough? And then she actually gave it thought. She gave it thought. Right? Does it really matter to make your lips red, to honor the majlis, to honor the wedding? Right? She gave it thought and she stopped it because she realized, yes, it is enough to dress proper and to go, right, dressed, formally, right, and covering your aura is enough for people to see that you have honored, their reception for their wedding. It's enough. It's enough. And she stopped it. She stopped it. Right. So, but I know it's but basically what I'm saying is that there were asatiza who were arguing for it, but there's no basis. There's no basis. You can search. I discussed it with my cousin also. You can search all you want. Search all the fiqh books. Is there any basis? Is there any basis? right? Just because people do it doesn't mean there's a basis, right? The our ruling is not what someone believes in. Our ruling is what our religion says or proofs. That's where our ruling goes back to. But I don't want to be a like people call me fanatic or whatever. But what basically what I would say go on is proofs, religious proofs in our books. Are there any proofs? So of course, if you put on onto your face, it's a bit of more, and I'm just going to take a Isha break. I'm waiting pre-Isha. If let's say what you're wearing is completely nude, they call it nude makeup, whereby the powder or what do you call it, compact, or the what do you call it, um, foundation is exactly your skin color, does not make you fairer than what you are. It's exactly your skin color, and then the lip, what do you call it, lip gloss, lipstick, lip balm, no, the lip thing lah, is exactly your lip color with no difference whatsoever, right? If you're putting that on, so it's called nude makeup, whereby you can't see that the person actually has makeup on. So you ask the question, why are they doing that? Why do people put on? Why would someone put on something if they look exactly the same without it, right? Like, but if you're saying, okay, no, I'm putting a little bit on to remove the oiliness of my face, can. The one can. But it cannot be seen. It can't be obvious that you're trying to beautify yourself. It can't be a beautification. This line. It can't be a beautification. So I know of Asatiza who say that, what is put on is natural. It's natural, right? And it's not natural, and it's not obvious. Some people say that. And at the same on the same line, there are men who are commenting on it, and they're saying so much makeup she put on. And the same line, there are those who are saying, oh no, it's natural makeup. If a man can come and say, hey, there's so much makeup on you, that means it's not natural lah, right? How could it be natural if someone can come and say there's so much makeup on you, especially if it's a man, meaning that he can see you have makeup on you, right? He can see it. You have makeup on you, right? Then it's not natural at all, right? Natural means they can't tell. They can't tell if you have makeup on you. So, um, yeah, that's the thing lah. So if you're using just like powder or compact to remove the oiliness of your face and does not change the way your natural look, then that's okay. That's okay. Right. But if it does change your skin tone and it kind of like makes a kick over your face, it's a different thing altogether. Mm, okay. So basically, someone asking more about niqab and the difficulties and struggles of niqab. To each their own lah. To each their own. I'll say to each their own. If you tried it on and you find that it's difficult and you want to stop wearing it, there is the opinion that says it's sunnah. You can take that opinion, right? If you want to keep on to it, you can keep on to it and still take the opinion that it's sunnah. So when you have to remove it at some times where it's difficult, then you can do so, right? So just there is that leniency in a religion that says it's sunnah, right? So you can just take that, inshallah. Okay, I'm gonna stop there to the long discussion, but still haven't moved in our Nifas. So the Nifas topic has stayed where it is. Alhamdulillah, we're going to go take an Isha break. So inshallah we'll come back at 9:30. Inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. I apologize if I offended anyone. If I say anything wrong, you can just text me about it. Inshallah, I'll look into the matter. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.